A night shift on Luna Station was always quiet. Commander Jake Morrison sat at his desk in the communications center, watching the green lights blink on the monitoring screens. For 20 years, he had been listening to space. Most nights, he heard nothing but static from distant stars. Lisa Carter worked at the station next to him. She was young, only 25, but she knew how to handle the complex radio equipment better than anyone. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she searched through different frequencies. At the third station sat Dr. Peter Kane. He was an old man with gray hair who studied alien languages. The Earth government kept him here just in case they ever found aliens who wanted to talk. Most people thought his job was a waste of time. Jake looked at the clock on the wall. It was 3 a.m, Earth time. He yawned and reached for his coffee cup. The hot liquid helped him stay awake during these long nights of listening to empty space. Lisa suddenly sat up straight in her chair. "Commander, I'm getting something strange on frequency 7, she said. Her voice was excited, but confused. Jake put down his coffee and rolled his chair over to her station. "What kind of something?" "It sounds like a voice, but it's not human. The pattern is wrong. Too fast in some places, too slow in others." Lisa adjusted the controls to make the signal clearer. A high-pitched sound filled the room. It rose and fell like music, but there was something desperate about it. The voice seemed to be repeating the same words over and over again. Dr. Kane jumped up from his chair so fast that he knocked over his pencil holder. "That's not random noise," he said, his eyes wide with excitement. "That's language. Real alien language." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. In his 20 years at Luna Station, he had never heard anything like this. "Are you sure, Peter?" The old scientist nodded as he listened to the strange voice. "I'm certain. The patterns repeat, but with small changes. That's how language works. Someone is trying to talk to us." Lisa worked to clean up the signal. Slowly, the alien voice became clearer. Even though they could not understand the words, the emotion was clear. The voice sounded afraid and desperate. "It's coming from the direction of the Vega star system," Lisa reported, "about 25 light years from Earth." Dr. Kane grabbed his notebooks and started writing down everything he heard. His hand shook with excitement as he tried to record. "The strange sounds. This is incredible. This is what we've been waiting for our whole lives." Jake picked up the red phone on his desk. This was the direct line to Admiral Susan Hayes at Earth Defense Command. She answered on the second ring. "Admiral." "Hayes speaking." "Admiral, this is Commander Morrison at Luna Station. We have a situation. We're receiving what appears to be an alien transmission from the Vega system." There was silence on the other end of the line for several seconds. Then Admiral Hayes spoke in a careful voice. "Are you certain about this, Commander?" Dr. Kane confirms it's a real language, not natural space noise. The transmission is repeating, and it sounds urgent. Record everything. I'm sending a team up to Luna Station immediately. Don't let word of this get out until we understand what we're dealing with." Jake hung up the phone and turned back to his team. Dr. Kane was still writing furiously in his notebook. Lisa had connected additional recording equipment to capture every detail of the alien. Hours passed as they listened to the strange voice. Dr. Kane began to recognize patterns in the language. Some sounds seemed to mean fear or danger. Others might mean help or please. As the sun rose over the lunar surface, Dr. Kane finally looked up from his work. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but he was more excited than Jake had ever seen him. "I think I understand some of it," the old scientist said. "The voice is asking for help. They're in terrible danger. Someone is attacking them, hurting them badly." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Are you saying there's a war going on out there?" more than a war. The voice talks about slavery, about taking children away from their families. It describes things that are hard to believe. Whoever is sending this message, their whole world is being destroyed. Lisa looked up from her equipment. Commander, the signal is getting weaker. I think their transmitter is running out of power. Or maybe it's being damaged. Dr. Kane listened more carefully to the fading voice. They're not just asking for help from anyone. They're specifically calling out to other star systems. They think someone out there might be strong enough to save them. Jake thought about this information. For over 100 years, Earth had stayed away from the rest of the galaxy. After the terrible wars of the 21st century, humanity had decided to focus on building a peaceful society. They explored their own solar system, but avoided looking for trouble in the stars. Now trouble had found them. The alien voice grew weaker and weaker, until finally it stopped completely. The communications room fell silent, except for the quiet hum of the equipment. Did we get it all? Jake asked. Lisa nodded. Every word is recorded. We have 17 hours of transmission. Dr. Kane closed his notebook and looked at Jake with serious eyes. Commander, this changes everything. We're not alone in the universe, and someone out there needs our help desperately. Jake stared at the radio equipment that had brought them. This message from the stars. Somewhere, 25 light years away, people were suffering and dying. They had sent their cry for help into empty space, hoping someone would hear and care enough to answer. The question now was simple. Would humanity answer that call? President Robert Clark sat at the head of the long table in the Colonial Council chamber. Around him, 12 council members argued loudly about what to do with the alien message. Their voices echoed off the walls of the underground meeting room. Beneath Washington, D.C., we cannot ignore this, said Councilwoman Maria Rodriguez, slamming her hand on the table. Innocent people are being murdered and enslaved. How can we just sit here and do nothing? Councilman Frank Miller shook his head. Angrily, it's not our problem. We decided 100 years ago to stay out of galactic affairs. Look what happened when we got involved in wars before. Millions died. President Clark raised his hand for silence. The room grew quiet, but he could feel the tension in the air. This was the most important decision humanity had made in over a century. Dr. Peter Kane stood at the front of the room next to a large screen. On the screen were the words he had translated from the alien message. The words painted a picture of horror that made everyone uncomfortable. The aliens call themselves the Kalari, Dr. Kane explained. They describe attackers called the Zephyrians, who came from the stars with giant ships. The Zephyrians destroyed their cities and took millions of Kalari as slaves. Councilman Henry Davis was the oldest person in the room. He was 90 years old and remembered the stories his grandfather told about the old wars on Earth. What exactly are the Zephyrians doing to these Kalari people? Dr. Kane looked down at his notes. His voice was quiet when he answered. They're forcing them to work in mines until they die. They take children away from their parents. The Kalari say that many of their people are dying not from work, but from sadness. They cannot understand why anyone would be so cruel. The room fell silent. Even Councilman Miller looked troubled by this information. These Kalari sound like they never had wars, said Councilwoman Rodriguez. They don't know how to fight back. That's exactly right, Dr. Kane replied. From what I can understand, they come from a world where everyone had enough food and no one ever fought. They built their whole society around peace and art. They have no armies, no weapons, no idea how to defend themselves. President Clark leaned forward in his chair. And these Zephyrians? They appear to be the opposite. Their messages talk about conquest and strength. They see the Kalari as weak animals to be used for work. Councilman Miller stood up. This proves my point. We stay out of alien business, Because it's dangerous. What if these Zephyrians decide to attack Earth next? What if they do? Asked Councilwoman Rodriguez. At least the Kaleri tried to call. For help, we would want someone to answer if we were in their place. The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to send help immediately. Others wanted to hide and hope the aliens never found Earth. A few suggested sending just information, maybe teaching the Kaleri how to fight without getting involved directly. Finally, President Clark called for a vote. All in favor of sending a reconnaissance mission to the Vega system? 5 hands went up, then 5 more. The vote was tied 6-6. All eyes turned to Henry Davis. As the oldest member, he would break the tie. The old man sat quietly for a long minute, thinking about his decision. My grandfather fought in the Third World War, he said slowly. He told me that the worst thing about war isn't the fighting. It's knowing you could have stopped suffering and chose not to. I vote yes. President Clark nodded. The motion passes. Admiral Hayes, prepare a reconnaissance mission. Admiral Susan Hayes had been waiting outside the council chamber. She entered the room carrying a thick folder of papers. I've already selected our best ship and crew, Mr. President. The Exploration. Vessel New Horizon, under Captain Alex Turner. Tell me about Captain Turner, President Clark said. He's 42 years old, 15 years of Space Command experience. He's explored more unknown systems than any other captain in our fleet. More importantly, he knows how to make hard decisions. Under pressure. Admiral Hayes opened her folder and pulled out more papers. His crew includes Dr. Rachel Green, our best expert on how life develops on dangerous worlds like Earth. She understands why humans are different from most aliens. And for military advice? Asked Councilwoman Rodriguez. Lieutenant Commander Ben Parker. He studied every war in human history and knows more about fighting tactics than anyone in the fleet. If they run into trouble, he'll know what to do. President Clark looked around the table at the council members. Half of them still looked worried about the decision. How long until the New Horizon can reach the Vega system? 3 weeks, at maximum speed, Admiral Hayes replied. Captain Turner's orders are to observe and gather information. If the situation is as bad as the alien message suggests, he's authorized to take appropriate action. What does that mean exactly? Asked Councilman Miller. Admiral Hayes looked at him with cold eyes. It means Captain Turner will use his best judgment to help innocent people if possible. The meeting ended, and the council members left the chamber. President Clark stayed behind with Admiral Hayes. Susan, tell me honestly, what do you think Captain Turner will find out there? Admiral Hayes was quiet for a moment. I think he'll find that the galaxy is full of species like the Kaleri. Peaceful. People who never learned to fight because they never had to. And I think he'll find that species like the Zephyrians have been taking advantage of that fact for a very long time. And what will he do about it? He'll do what humans always do when we see bullies hurting innocent people. He'll try to stop them. President Clark walked to the window that looked out over the city. Millions of people lived here in peace, not knowing that their government had just made a decision that would change everything. I hope we're making the right choice, he said. Admiral Hayes joined him at the window. Mr. President, 100 years ago we decided to stop fighting and focus on building a better world. We succeeded. Now maybe it's time to help others do the same. 3 days later, Captain Alex Turner stood on the bridge of the New Horizon as it prepared to leave Earth orbit. His crew of 50 specialists were the best humanity had to offer. They were scientists, doctors, engineers, and soldiers who had volunteered for a mission into the unknown. Dr. Rachel Green approached the captain with a tablet in her hands. I've been studying everything we know about the Kaleri. They really are as peaceful as Dr. Kane believes. That makes them easy targets, Captain Turner replied. Yes, but it also makes them worth saving. Captain, most aliens in the galaxy probably evolved on worlds like theirs. Safe worlds with plenty of food and no predators. They never had to learn to fight. Lieutenant Commander Ben Parker overheard their conversation, which means they've never seen anything like humans before. Captain Turner looked out at the stars. Ahead of them, somewhere out there, innocent people were suffering and dying while calling for help. Soon, they would have an answer to that call. Take us to maximum speed, Captain Turner ordered. It's time to see what's really happening in the Vega system. The New Horizons engines roared to life, and the ship jumped into hyperspace. The journey to awaken the sleeping giant had begun. The New Horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vega system. Captain Alex Turner stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen that showed the distant star and its planets. Everything looked normal from this far away, but he knew that looks could be deceiving. Begin passive scans, Captain Turner ordered. I want to know what's happening in this system before anyone knows we're here. Lieutenant Sarah Walsh worked at the sensor station. She was young but had sharp eyes for reading sensor data. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she searched for signs of life in the system. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy. Signatures throughout the system, she reported. There are hundreds of ships moving between the planets. Most of them are clustered around the fourth planet. Dr. Rachel Green studied the readings on her tablet. That must be the Kaleri homeworld. The energy patterns suggest heavy industrial activity. Lieutenant Commander Ben Parker frowned as he looked at the tactical display. Those ship formations don't look like cargo vessels. They're arranged in patrol patterns. Someone's running a military occupation. Captain Turner felt a cold anger growing in his chest. The alien distress call had been real. Somewhere in this system, innocent people were suffering under the rule of conquerors. Take us closer, but keep us hidden behind that large asteroid, he ordered. I want to see what we're dealing with. The New Horizon moved carefully through the outer system. The asteroid belt provided good cover as they approached the inner planets. The closer they got, the clearer the picture became. Lieutenant Walsh's voice was tight with emotion when she made her next report. Captain, I'm reading massive strip mining operations on at least 6 asteroids. The energy output suggests they're working around the clock. What about the fourth planet? Captain Turner asked Dr. Green, worked with the long-range scanners to get a better look at the Kaleri homeworld. What she saw made her stomach sick. The entire planet has been turned into a work camp. I can see enormous mining facilities covering what used to be cities. Lieutenant Commander Parker studied the military formations. The orbital defenses are impressive. Whoever these Zephyrians are, they know how to run an occupation. They have ships positioned to stop any rescue attempts. Captain Turner made a decision. We need more information. Lieutenant Walsh scanned for any small ships that might be trying to escape the system. For 2 days, the New Horizon waited and watched from behind the asteroid. They recorded everything they saw. The Zephyrian ships moved in careful patterns, always watching for trouble. The mining operations never stopped, not even for a moment. On the 3rd day, Lieutenant Walsh detected something different. Captain, I have a small ship on sensors. It's badly damaged and moving very slowly away from the fourth planet. Zephyrian? Asked Lieutenant Commander Parker. No, sir. The design is completely different, much smaller and more delicate. I think it might be Kaleri. Captain Turner knew this was their chance to learn more about the situation. Bring us alongside that ship. Use the tractor beam to pull it into our cargo bay. The damaged alien ship was tiny compared to the New Horizon. It looked like it was built by people who cared more about beauty than warfare. The hull was smooth and curved, decorated with patterns that looked like flowing water dot when the cargo bay was sealed and filled with air. Captain Turner led a team to examine the alien ship. Dr. Green carried a medical kit in case there were survivors inside. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. 3 aliens stumbled out, and Captain Turner got his first look at the Kalari people. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large eyes that seemed to hold all the sadness in the universe. Their clothes were torn and dirty, and they moved like people who had not eaten well in a long time. The tallest Kalari stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was musical but filled with fear. Dr. Green's translation device picked up his words and converted them to English. "Please do not hurt us," the alien said. "We have nothing left to take." Captain Turner raised his hands to show he was not carrying weapons. "We're not here to hurt you. We heard your distress call. We came to help." The Kalari's large eyes grew even wider. He looked at Captain Turner as if he could not believe what he was hearing. "You came because of our message?" "But that was sent to empty space. We did not think anyone would hear." "We heard," Dr. Green said gently. "We came as fast as we could. What's your name?" "I am Veltar of the Morning Gardens. These are my companions, Kalina and Voral. We managed to escape when the Zephyrians attacked our research station." Lieutenant Commander Parker stepped forward. "How many of your people are still alive?" Veltar's voice became very quiet. "When the Zephyrians first came, there were 12 billion Kalari on our world and the colony planets. Now, maybe 2 billion survive. The rest have died in the mines or from heartbreak." Dr. Green felt tears in her eyes. "Heartbreak? My people do not understand cruelty," Veltar explained. "We evolved on a world where everyone had enough, and no one ever hurt another on purpose. When the Zephyrians began torturing us for pleasure, many Kalari simply stopped living. Their hearts could not accept such evil." Captain Turner clenched his fists. He had seen many terrible things in his years of space exploration, but this was worse than anything he could have imagined. "Tell us about the Zephyrians," he said. "How did they fight?" Veltar looked confused by the question. "Fight? I do not understand. They have weapons that kill from far away. They have ships that destroy cities. There is no fighting. There is only running or dying." Lieutenant Commander Parker realized the problem. "Captain, the Kalari don't have a concept of organized warfare. They don't know that it's possible to fight back against a stronger enemy." Dr. Green knelt down to examine the 3 Kalari refugees. They were suffering from malnutrition and exhaustion, but what worried her more was the look in their eyes. They had the expression of people who had given up hope. "Veltar," she said gently, "would you like to see the Zephyrians driven away from your world?" The alien looked at her with wonder. "That would be like asking if I want the suns to rise." "Again, it is too beautiful to dream about." "It's not a dream," Captain Turner said. "My people know how to fight. We know how to win against enemies who think they're stronger than they are." Veltar studied Captain Turner's face. "Your people come from a world of warriors?" "We come from a world where we had to learn to survive," Dr. Green explained. "Sometimes that meant fighting. Sometimes it meant helping each other. We learned to do both." For the first time since they had been rescued, Veltar smiled. It was a small smile, but it held a tiny spark of hope. "The Zephyrians believe that all species in the galaxy are weak like us," he said. "They have conquered many worlds because no one knew how to resist them. But you are different." Lieutenant Commander Parker nodded. "Very different. And it's time they learned that." Captain Turner made his decision. "Veltar, we're going to help your people. But first, we need you to teach us everything you know about the Zephyrians. How they think, how they fight, what they fear." "They fear nothing," Veltar replied. Captain Turner smiled, and it was not a gentle smile. "They will." Captain Alex Turner stood in the communications room of the New Horizon, preparing to send a message back to Earth. He chose his words carefully because he knew Admiral Hayes would understand the hidden meaning. Earth Control, this is New Horizon. Package delivered safely. Beginning extended operations as planned. Will report when objectives are complete. The message would take 3 weeks to reach Earth, but Admiral Hayes would know what it meant. Captain Turner was not coming home until the Kalari were free. Weltar watched the human captain with curious eyes. In the past week, he had learned much about these strange beings who came from a dangerous world. They could be gentle healers one moment and fierce warriors the next. Your people at home will worry about you, Weltar said. Captain Turner smiled. They'll understand. Humans don't abandon friends in trouble. Dr. Rachel Green entered the room carrying a tablet full of information. She had been working with Weltar and his companions to learn everything about Kalari society and the Zephyrian. Occupation. Captain, I think I have a plan, she said. The Kalari have hidden communication networks throughout their world. If we can reach the right people, we can organize a resistance movement. Lieutenant Commander Ben Parker joined them. He had been studying the Zephyrian military formations and found several weaknesses. The Zephyrians are overconfident. They never expect serious resistance, so their guard positions are sloppy. Weltar looked confused. What is resistance? Doctor. Green sat down next to the Kalari refugee. It means fighting back. Not running away, but standing up to bullies and making them stop hurting people. But how can we fight? Weltar asked. The Zephyrians have weapons that kill instantly. They have armor that protects them from everything we might use against them. Lieutenant Commander Parker pulled up a tactical display on the wall screen. Weltar, warfare isn't just about having the biggest weapons. It's about using your enemy's weaknesses against them. I do not understand. Captain Turner sat down across from Weltar. Let me explain. The Zephyrians think they know everything about your people. They expect you to be weak and frightened. What if you surprise them? Dr. Green opened her tablet and showed Weltar pictures of Earth's history. My ancestors faced the same problem thousands of years ago. Sometimes small groups of people had to fight against much larger armies. Weltar studied the pictures with growing interest. How did they win? They used surprise attacks. They hit the enemy where they were weak, then disappeared before the enemy could fight back. They made the stronger force afraid to leave there. Bases. Lieutenant Commander Parker nodded. It's called guerrilla warfare. Small groups of fighters who know the land better than their enemies. But we are not fighters, Weltar protested. We do not know how to hurt others, even those who hurt us. Dr. Green had expected this problem. We don't need you to become killers. We need you to become rescuers. Instead of attacking Zephyrian soldiers, we attack their supply lines. Instead of destroying their ships, we free your people. Captain Turner stood up. The plan is simple. We train small groups of Kalari to rescue prisoners and sabotage equipment. Every person we free makes us stronger. Every machine we break makes the Zephyrians weaker. Weltar was quiet for a long time. Finally, he looked up at 3 humans. If we do this, the Zephyrians will become angry. They will hurt more of my people. They're already hurting your people, Lieutenant Commander Parker said gently. At least this way, some of them will be saved. Dr. Green leaned forward. Weltar, we won't ask your people to do anything that goes against their nature. We'll find ways to fight that let you stay true to who you are. The Kalari refugee thought about this. His people had been slaves for so long that most had forgotten what freedom felt like. But these humans offered something he had not dared to hope for. What do you need me to do? He asked. Captain Turner smiled. Help us contact the Kalari resistance networks. We need to find people who are ready to fight for their freedom. Over the next 2 weeks, the New Horizon became the secret headquarters of a growing rebellion. Veltar used the ship's powerful communication equipment to reach Kaleri on the occupied worlds. The response surprised everyone. Dr. Green monitored the communications as messages poured in from across the system. Captain, we're getting responses from over 50 different Kalari groups. They've been waiting for someone to show them how to fight back. The first rescue mission was planned carefully. A group of Kalari children were being held at a mining station on a small moon. The station was lightly guarded because the Zephyrians never expected anyone to attack it. Lieutenant Commander Parker led the mission with 6 human Marines and 12 Kalari volunteers. They used a captured Zephyrian shuttle to approach the mining station without raising suspicion. Veltar was part of the rescue team. He had learned to use human tools and weapons, though Dr. Green had made sure they were set to stun rather than kill. The Kalari could not bring themselves to take lives, even Zephyrian lives. The rescue mission succeeded perfectly. 37. Kalari children were freed from the mining station, and the facility's main computer was destroyed. The rescue team escaped before the Zephyrian guards knew what had happened. When the children arrived on the New Horizon, Dr. Green saw something wonderful. For the first time in months, young Kalari were laughing and playing instead of working in fear. But the rescue had an unexpected effect. Word of the successful mission spread through the Kalari population faster than anyone had expected. The story grew with each telling. The rescued children spoke of mysterious warriors who appeared from nowhere to free them. Veltar brought Captain Turner a message that had been intercepted from the Kalari underground networks. Listen to what the children are saying about you. Message was in the musical Kalari language, but Dr. Green's translation device converted it to English. A young voice spoke with excitement and wonder. The Stormbringers came in the night. They moved like shadows and struck like lightning. The metal skins could not see them or catch them. They freed us from the dark place and brought us to the skyship of hope. Dr. Green looked at Captain Turner. Stormbringers? Veltar explained. On our world, storms bring the rains that make life grow. To call someone a Stormbringer means they bring change that helps everything live again. Lieutenant Commander Parker was monitoring Zephyrian communications. Captain, the enemy is starting to take notice. They're increasing patrols and asking questions about the missing children. Captain Turner knew this was just the beginning. Good. Let them wonder what happened. Fear of the unknown is a powerful weapon. Dr. Green was working with more Kalari volunteers who had come to join the yarn. Resistance. They were learning human tactics and strategies, but more importantly, they were learning that they could fight back against their oppressors. The next mission will be bigger, she told Captain Turner. We have enough volunteers to hit 3 targets at the same time. Veltar approached the captain with a serious expression. The Kalari are calling you the bringers of the storm. But what will the Zephyrians call you when they learn who you are? Captain Turner looked out at the stars, where Zephyrian ships patrolled in growing numbers. Soon those ships would be hunting for him and his crew. The enemy would discover that Earth's children had come to the Vega system. They'll call us their worst nightmare, he said quietly. They'll learn that some storms are too powerful to stop. Sleeping Giant was beginning to stir, and the Zephyrians were about to discover what happened when humans decided to fight for something they believed in. Admiral Kethvor of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet was not happy. For 3 months, his forces had been losing equipment and prisoners to invisible attackers. Someone was organizing the Kalari slaves, and he intended to crush this rebellion before it spread to other conquered worlds. Kethvor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Fang, watching his battle fleet prepare for action. He had brought 50 warships to the Vega system, enough firepower to destroy entire planets. He expected to find a small group of Kalari rebels with stolen weapons. "Admiral, we've detected the rebel base," reported his tactical officer. "It appears to be hidden in the asteroid belt near the fourth planet." Kethver smiled with satisfaction. "Finally, prepare the fleet for attack. We'll show these slaves what happens when they dare to resist the Zephyrian Empire." What Admiral Kethver did not know was that Captain Turner had been preparing for this moment. Over the past 3 months, the New Horizon had become much more. In a single ship, the asteroid belt now contained a hidden network of bases, weapons, and surprises. Captain Turner stood in the command center that had been carved out of the largest asteroid. Around him, human officers worked alongside Kalari volunteers who had learned to operate advanced equipment. The peaceful aliens had proven to be quick learners when fighting for their freedom. "Zephyrian fleet approaching," Lieutenant Sarah Walsh reported. 50 ships in standard attack formation. Dr. Rachel Green was monitoring communications from across the system. "Captain, the Kalari uprising is ready. As soon as the space battle begins, they'll attack every Zephyrian installation on the planet." Veltar stood next to Captain Turner, wearing the blue uniform of the Kalari Liberation Force. In 3 months, he had changed from a frightened refugee into a confident leader. His people had learned that they could fight without becoming monsters. "My people are ready," Veltar said. "For the first time in years, we have hope." Lieutenant Commander Ben Parker studied the tactical display. The Zephyrian ships were moving into the asteroid field exactly as he had predicted. They're following their standard attack pattern. No creativity, no adaptation. They've never fought an enemy that knew how to fight back. Captain Turner activated the communication system that connected all the hidden bases. "This is Storm Leader to all units. The enemy is entering our trap. Remember, we're not just fighting for the Kalari. We're fighting to show the galaxy that bullies can be stopped." The battle began when the Zephyrian fleet reached the center of the asteroid field. Admiral Kethver expected to find rebel ships hiding behind rocks. Instead, the rocks themselves opened fire. Hidden weapons platforms emerged from asteroids throughout the field. The New Horizon appeared from behind a massive asteroid, its weapons blazing. Converted Kalari ships, armed with human technology, attacked from all directions. Admiral Kethver stared at his tactical display in shock. "What kind of ships are those? I've never seen that design before." His tactical officer was equally confused. "Admiral, the enemy is using combat tactics I don't recognize. They're fighting like they've been doing this for thousands of years." The Zephyrian ships tried to respond with their usual overwhelming firepower, but the human tactics were completely different from anything they had encountered. Captain Turner's forces used the asteroids for cover, appearing suddenly to attack and then vanishing again. Dr. Green's understanding of predator psychology proved crucial. She had studied how the Zephyrians thought and predicted their responses to different situations. Every time the enemy tried to adapt, the humans were already 3 steps ahead. On the Kalari homeworld, Veltar's voice echoed through hidden communication networks. "Now, my people, strike now for freedom." Across the planet, thousands of Kalari emerged from hiding places. They attacked Zephyrian supply depots, freed prisoners from work camps, and sabotaged the mining equipment. The peaceful aliens fought with desperate courage, knowing this might be their only chance for freedom. The uprising was coordinated with military precision that the Zephyrians had never seen from conquered peoples. Every attack hit exactly where the enemy was weakest, exactly when they were most vulnerable. Admiral Kethvar watched his perfect military formation fall apart. His ships were being destroyed by enemies who fought like nothing he had ever encountered. These were not the weak, frightened slaves he was used to conquering. "Admiral, we're receiving damage reports from installations throughout the system. his communications officer reported. "The slaves are revolting everywhere at once." "Impossible," Kethfer snarled. "Slaves don't know how to organize. Someone is helping them." On the new horizon, Captain Turner watched the battle turn in their favor. The Zephyrian ships were powerful, but they were designed to fight other ships in open space. They could not handle the hit-and-run tactics that humans had perfected over centuries of warfare. Lieutenant Walsh opened a channel to the Zephyrian flagship. Captain Turner ordered. Admiral Kethfer's face appeared on the main screen. He looked angry and confused. "Who are you? What species dares to interfere with the Zephyrian Empire?" "Captain." Turner stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. "I am Captain Alex Turner of the Terran Federation. We are humans, and we came because the Kalari called for help." Kethfer studied the human face with growing unease. There was something in the human's eyes that he had never seen before in a conquered species. It was not fear or hatred. It was the calm confidence of someone who knew exactly how to win. "Humans," Kethfer repeated. "I have never heard of your species." "You will remember us," Captain Turner replied. "We're from a world where the strong protect the weak, not the other way around." The battle continued for 6 hours. One by one, Zephyrian ships were destroyed or forced to retreat. Admiral Kethfer found himself commanding a shrinking fleet. Against an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Dr. Green monitored the communications from the planet's surface. "Captain, the uprising is succeeding. The Kalari have liberated their major cities and are freeing prisoners across the continent." Veltar's voice came through the communicator, filled with joy and amazement. "Captain Turner, my people are free. After so many years of darkness, we are finally free." Admiral Kethfer made his final mistake. He ordered his remaining ships to attack the planet directly, hoping to force the humans to surrender by threatening Kalari civilians. Lieutenant Commander Parker had been waiting for this moment. "Captain, the enemy is targeting the planet. All ships are focused on the surface." Captain Turner smiled grimly. "Then they're not watching their backs. All units, final assault." The hidden human fleet emerged from concealment throughout the asteroid belt. Ships that had been waiting silently for hours suddenly appeared behind the Zephyrian formation. The trap was complete. Admiral Kethfer realized too late that he had been outmaneuvered completely. His forces were surrounded by an enemy that had planned for every possibility. These humans fought like they had been born for war. "Retreat," he ordered. "All ships, immediate retreat." But Captain Turner was not finished. Lieutenant Walsh broadcast this battle on all subspace frequencies. "I want every species in this part of the galaxy to see what happens to bullies." The final phase of the battle was broadcast across dozens of star systems. Species that had never heard of humans watched as the mighty Zephyrian fleet was destroyed by unknown warriors who appeared from nowhere. Admiral Kethfer escaped with only 12 ships out of 50. His perfect record of conquest was broken forever. As his damaged flagship limped away from the Vega system, he sent a message to Zephyrian High Command. "The humans," he reported. "Remember that name. They are not like anything we have ever conquered. They are Stormbringers, and they have awakened." Captain Turner stood on the observation deck of the New Horizon, watching Zephyrian ships flee into hyperspace. Dr. Green and Lieutenant Commander Parker joined him. "It's over," Dr. Green said. "The Kalari are free." "No," Captain Turner replied. "Quietly. It's just beginning. Word of this battle will spread across the galaxy. Every oppressed species will know that someone answered when the Kalari called for help." Lieutenant Commander Parker understood. "They'll call for us too." Captain Turner nodded. "And we'll answer. That's what humans do." "Far away on Earth, Admiral." Hayes received a simple message. Mission accomplished. Proceeding to next objective. She smiled as she realized that humanity's long isolation was over forever. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same.